I want you to picture a scene, a very specific, very tense scene. It's just after 6 in the morning. 6:12 a.m., January 8th, 2020. The sky is still pitch black. We're on the outskirts of Tehran, but we're not in some command bunker. We're inside a mobile air defense truck, a Turan-1 system.
It's cramped in there. You can imagine the smell, diesel, maybe stale coffee. And the air is just thick with tension.
With panic, almost. And these operators, they're not just on a long shift. They are absolutely convinced that all hell is about to break loose.
That's it. They believe the sky is about to fall on their heads, literally.
And just a few miles away, in the middle of this too quiet morning, a plane is pushing back from the gate. Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752.
Headed for Kyiv.
Yeah, 176 people on board. You've got students, families, just people heading home after the holidays. They take off, climbing into that dark sky.
And just a few minutes later, they're just gone.
Today, we are doing a deep dive into the downing of Flight 752. And we've got a stack of reports here. Technical analyses, intel briefings, the whole 9 yards. But we want to go beyond just the timeline.
Right.
We're going to try and understand how a civilian airliner gets shot down, not in the middle of a hot war, but in the terrifying silence of anticipation.
That's the key word, isn't it? Anticipation. This whole tragedy, it didn't happen because a war was raging. It happened because everyone involved was terrified that a war was about to start.
So let's set the stage. Because to get inside that operator's head, you have to understand the hours leading up to that moment. I mean, the whole world felt like it was on a knife's edge that week.
It really did.
Yeah.
You got to remember, just a few days before, the U.S. had killed General Soleimani. Tensions were, they were at a boiling point.
And just mere hours before Flight 752 took off, Iran had launched a major attack.
A huge one. 16 ballistic missiles fired at American bases over in Iraq. It was a massive statement.
Okay, so militarily speaking, Iran just took a huge swing at the United States.
Exactly. And when you do that, you don't just, clock off and go to bed. You brace for the response. The entire Iranian military was waiting for a massive American counterstrike.
They're expecting cruise missiles, stealth bombers, the works.
Everything. So Iran's entire air defense network is on its highest possible alert. They call it War Condition 3.
And what does that mean in practical terms?
It means the operators are glued to their screens. They're not just scanning the skies. They are looking at every single pixel, convinced that the U.S. Air Force is already on its way.
Okay, here's the part that I just can't wrap my head around.
Yeah.
If you think American stealth bombers are inbound, why is the international airport still open? Why are civilian planes still taking off?
That is the multi-million-dollar question. Standard operating procedure in a situation like that under War Condition 3, you clear the airspace, you ground everything.
Right. You don't want civilian planes flying through a potential kill zone?
Absolutely not. But they didn't. Flight 752 was cleared. It took off. And, there are theories. Maybe they didn't want to cause a public panic by shutting everything down. Maybe it was a breakdown in communication between the military and civil aviation.
But the result is the same. You have a passenger jet flying right into this hair trigger environment.
Exactly. A civilian target in a sky full of ghosts.
So let's go back to that operator, the guy in the Turan-1 vehicle. I was reading up on the system. It's a pretty sophisticated piece of Russian-made kit.
Oh, it is. The Turan-1 is a self-contained unit. It's got its own radar, its own missiles, all on one tracked vehicle. It's designed to shoot down planes, helicopters, and this is the crucial part, incoming cruise missiles.
And it's designed to work on its own, right? Autonomously.
Which, in a military context, can be a good thing or a very, very bad thing. It means if the central command network is jammed or destroyed, that little unit can still fight. It can find and kill targets all by itself.
Which brings us back to 6:11 a.m. The operator sees a blip on his radar. Now, a Boeing 737 is a big plane. It's climbing away from the airport. So how does a trained operator look at that and see an American cruise missile?
And this is where a catastrophic technical error meets an equally catastrophic human one. The investigation points to a critical mistake made before the plane was even in the air. The operator had moved his vehicle.
Okay. But it's a mobile unit. Isn't it supposed to move?
It is. But when you move a sensitive radar system like that, you have to recalibrate it. You have to tell the computer where north is again if you don't align the system's gyro properly.
Oh, I think I see where this is going.
The whole world on a screen gets twisted. The investigation suggests the system was misaligned by about 107 degrees.
107 degrees. That's not a small error.
It's huge. So in the real world, Flight 752 is flying northwest, climbing away from Tehran. But on that operator screen, because of the error, the target looks like it's coming in from a totally different direction.
So his computer's basically lying to him. It's saying, alert, fast-moving object heading right for a sensitive military area.
Precisely. To his eyes, the trajectory is a perfect match for an inbound threat.
But wait, what about the transponder? The IFF system? Identification, friend or foe? Commercial planes are constantly squawking a code that says, hey, I'm friendly, I'm civilian.
They are. And the Tor M1 can read that. But it's not foolproof. In a high-clutter environment, maybe the antenna isn't perfectly aimed. It might not get a clean signal. Or, and this is the really scary part about human psychology, you have expectancy bias.
Meaning he's so convinced he's looking for a missile, that's all he can see.
He might have even seen a civilian tag, and his brain just dismissed it, screamed, no, that can't be right, it has to be a missile.
Talk to me about the timeline here, because the thing that just jumps off the page in these reports is the speed. He didn't have minutes to sit and think this through.
He had seconds. We call it the decision window. Based on the speed of the target he thought he was seeing, he calculated that he had maybe 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
10 seconds before that missile would be too close to stop. Imagine that pressure. You haven't slept, you're full of adrenaline, your country just attacked the U.S.
And your screen is screaming, danger!
So you do what you're trained to do. You try to call your commander to get permission to verify the threat.
And the line is dead.
The report says there was a communication failure. We don't know why. Jamming, a glitch, network overload. It doesn't matter. The result is he's alone. He's the only person standing between what he sees as an American missile and a disaster.
He's on an island. If he's right and he does nothing, people die. If he's wrong and he shoots.
He creates an international tragedy. It is the definition of a nightmare scenario, and in that 10-second window, his training takes over. But it's the wrong training for this specific terrible situation. He pushes the button.
And he fires 2 missiles, not 1.
Right. Standard procedure for the Tor is called shoot-shoot. You launch 2 to guarantee a kill. The first one leaves the rail. A few seconds later, the second one follows.
It's just horrifying, the mechanics of it. It's a machine designed for lethal efficiency. It doesn't know it's locking onto a plane full of people. It just sees a target, a math problem, and it solves it.
And it did. The plane was hit. It turned back towards the airport, on fire, before crashing into a park. All 176 souls on board were lost.
The crash itself is a tragedy of immense proportions. But what happens over the next 3 days? That's what turns this from a disaster into a geopolitical crisis, because they didn't admit it.
Not even close. The sun comes up, there's wreckage everywhere, and the Iranian government's first statement is mechanical failure.
And they were so specific. I remember the reports. They said it was an engine fire.
Almost immediately. Which, if you think about it, is suspicious in itself. Crash investigations take months, sometimes years, to come out in hour 1 and say you know the cause.
It felt like we were trying to create a narrative before the facts had a chance to get out, or reflex.
That's a great way to put it. It's institutional self-preservation. Nobody wants to be the one to tell the leadership that your own military just shot down a passenger jet. So the denial starts, and it works its way up the chain.
But this isn't 1980. You can't just make something up when there are satellites overhead and everyone has a camera in their pocket.
And that's exactly where their story fell apart. This is a classic example of how open source intelligence, OSINT, has changed everything. Before governments even made official statements, you had people on Twitter analyzing photos of the wreckage.
And they were finding shrapnel holes in the fuselage.
Exactly. Tiny little puncture marks. An engine fire doesn't do that. A proximity-fused warhead detonating and spraying the plane with fragments. That does.
Then the video came out.
The smoking gun. The grainy cell phone video. It's dark, you see a flash of light streak across the sky, then a bigger flash. An explosion. Then you see a second streak.
I remember seeing that. It just spread like wildfire.
And it wasn't just on Twitter. Western intelligence agencies saw it too. U.S. military satellites are designed to detect the heat signature of missile launches. They saw the 2 launches from the Tor system. They saw the explosion in the air.
So by the next day, you have leaders like Justin Trudeau in Canada standing up and saying, our intelligence indicates this was a missile.
The pressure was mounting. You have the world saying it was a missile. You have video evidence. You have photos of the debris. And for 3 days, Tehran's official line was impossible.
They were basically gaslighting the entire world.
They were. But you can only do that for so long. The evidence became overwhelming. And eventually, the military had to come clean to the political leadership.
And the pivot, when it came, was sudden.
A complete 180. 3 days after the crash, they admitted. Human error, they said. They laid out the whole story. The misalignment, the comms failure, the 10-second window.
Which brings us to the real analysis here. Because if you strip away the politics and the cover-up, what you're left with is a catastrophic system failure. And not just the hardware, the human system.
The source material calls this a single point of failure. It's an engineering concept. You want to build systems with redundancy, with backups. So if one part breaks, the whole thing doesn't just explode.
But in this case, the final backup, the final failsafe, was the human operator.
And he was the component that was compromised. He was sleep-deprived, under incredible stress, and working with bad data from his own machine. The safety of hundreds of people came down to one guy in a box with 10 seconds to decide. That's an incredibly fragile system.
There's another idea in these reports that I found really chilling, the escalation paradox. Let's play that out. What happens if the US side of this equation reads the situation wrong?
This is the nightmare what-if scenario. You have to remember, U.S. forces in the region were also on maximum alert. They're watching their own radar screens. They see an Iranian air defense battery launch 2 missiles.
If you're an American commander, what's your first thought? Are you thinking they shot down a civilian plane by mistake? Or are you thinking they're shooting at you?
Or what if you see the plane go down and you assume it was deliberate? A signal from Iran, we're willing to shoot down civilian planes.
If Washington had interpreted that launch as an attack or a deliberate provocation instead of a mistake,
you could have seen a retaliatory strike within minutes. The U.S. hits that air defense site. Iran, seeing that, fires back. And suddenly that war of anticipation becomes a very real, very hot regional conflict.
we were that close, standing on the edge of a cliff, and we didn't even know it until days later.
It just shows you this terrifying truth about modern conflict. Our weapons move at Mach 3 and Mach 4, but verification, the truth, it still moves at the speed of a phone call.
There's a quote here, "Mistakes propagate faster than truth."
That's the perfect summary. A missile gets to its target in seconds. The truth in this case took 3 days, and in that gap, that's where wars can start.
It really just shatters this idea we have of clean, surgical, modern warfare. Drones, precision strikes, very neat and tidy.
But there's always a human in the loop somewhere. And humans are messy. We get tired, we get scared, we make mistakes. You could have the most advanced technology in the world, but if the operator aligns it wrong because he's exhausted and terrified, the tech just helps him make a more lethal mistake.
Right. A guy with a rifle can't accidentally shoot down a 737. A guy with a Tor M1 system can.
That's it. So 176 people, they didn't die because a war had started. They died because everyone was terrified that one was about to. They were casualties of fear.
They were victims of the psychological state of war. The phantom battle in that operator's head had real-world consequences.
It's a heavy thought. We build these incredibly advanced defense systems to make us safer, but this case shows how, under the right kind of pressure, the defense system itself can become the threat.
And that's the question I think we should leave everyone with. As we move towards more automation, more AI in warfare, faster and faster weapons, we're trying to take the slow human out of the decision loop.
But that human is also the circuit breaker. The one who can hesitate, who can ask, wait, is this right?
Exactly. So as we build systems that react in milliseconds, you have to ask yourself, how much time is there really between an uneasy peace and a catastrophic misunderstanding? Is it 10 seconds? Or have we built a world where the war can start before anyone even knows why?
It's a chilling thought to end on.
It is. We will be back next week with another deep dive. Until then, check your sources and stay curious.
Stay safe.